So welcome to another edition of the Secure Dynamics TechCast. With me, I have a co-conspirator who was actually somebody I got introduced to with one of the most amazing web events that happened, I think, about 3 weeks ago. And this was co-hosted by IAPP and WISP. So my guest is Christina Lauderdale, who is a manager of data privacy at NorthRamp and also the co-lead for the DC chapter in Women in Security and Privacy. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you, Ashwin, for having me. I'm really delighted to be here.
Absolutely. So, Christina, let's dive right in. I know you work a lot with the federal government, right? And you see a lot of what's happening right now. So let's take maybe the first 5 minutes of this 10-minute video conversation talking about what you're seeing right now in terms of the policies and procedures that are being implemented by the federal government, and then we can then transition into what you're seeing as the post-COVID normal when it comes to work in general.
Sure. So, yes, as you mentioned, and I'll just give a brief background about myself. So, I'm currently a manager of data privacy at NorthRamp. We are a small 50-person company, but we do support government and commercial clients. And obviously, like you said, my main focus right now is to support federal clients within the privacy space. And I was previously at Booz Allen for a little under 4 years, and also focused on federal privacy during my time there. So I have supported, it's probably, I want to say 12, maybe 15 different clients.
Wow. Okay.
Over the past portion of my career. And it's given me a lot of, I've been able to deep dive into a lot of federal privacy issues, standing up federal privacy programs, seeing how different agencies operate. So it's really been a great experience. And obviously, you have every agency trying to mature their privacy program, and then something like COVID hits, and it turns everything upside down. One of the main things that I just saw federal agencies trying to focus on, and obviously I'm not speaking for any federal agency in particular, but what I've been seeing is a huge concern for teleworking your environment, what you're printing from home, whether that's documentation that contains PII, personally identifiable information, what you're doing with that documentation once it's done. Is that something that you turn the paper over and your children are coloring on the back of that, and then it goes up on your refrigerator for the next 6 to 12 months? Right. And, these are concerns that I've been on a lot of just general webinars that the federal government hosts. And these are concerns, with everyone teleworking at maximum telework right now. And so obviously other issues are establishing a secure internet connection. Are you being able to, what does your internet connection look like from your home space? And when you're on phone calls, who else is in the room? Who may have knowledge of what you're discussing? Is that a sensitive phone call? Do you have to say, let me step into the other room? These are all things that have to be considered. And I think right now what I have been seeing for the last, I guess it's been 3 months now. It seems like forever, is really just continuing to train employees, to send out tips, to really say, hey, don't forget about this. If you have questions about this, feel free to contact us. And obviously people like myself who serve in a contractor type position, who support federal clients, they're looking to us to say, okay, what are some tips that we haven't thought of? How can we engage the telework community? What are some ways in which we can protect ourselves, not only from a privacy perspective, but also from a security perspective as well?
Got it. And you mentioned something which I was going to ask you anyway. So is that, I know there's a lot of federal contractors, both independent as well as organizations, right? So is there a distinction in terms of, especially now, in terms of what is and isn't allowed for a contractor to do and not to do in these times, which was different than earlier?
Yeah, so it's interesting because there's always been a distinction between are you a federal employee and are you a contractor? Usually contractors are treated, for most intents and purposes, for privacy matters as a federal employee. So
I see.
contractors receive the same training, they receive the same privacy training, the same security awareness training, which is great because it puts everyone on the same playing field and kind of levels it for everyone. But I haven't seen too much differentiation between if you're a contractor, you should be doing things differently. I would say probably now that we are contractors, I'm seeing even more communication from, my company, particularly, and I'm sure other companies as well who support federal clients. They're sending out specific information for their employees saying, here's how to protect client information. Here's how to make sure that we're not only abiding by client rules, but also by our rules.
That's great to hear, right? This forward-looking thing. So that's a segue into the next thing, which is, hey, you mentioned we're into this 3 months and states are starting to open up inside the US at least. So what are some of the forward-leaning federal organizations doing in terms of preparing for this post-COVID world?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm seeing a lot from federal agencies right now. Actually, this morning from one of the clients that I support, they already sent out a communication about phase 1 planning to go back on site. And, while these are all more just how to prevent, transferring potentially COVID to other employees and individuals who are on campus, it's also more about here's how things will be happening and here's what will be going on when you step on campus. You will have a mandatory temperature check. And, obviously with that presents in and of itself privacy issues.
Right.
And there's questions going around, where is that notification for individuals, employees who are coming on site to campus? Are they aware that they'll have their temperature checked before they come on site? And if so, do they have the opportunity to decline that? Yeah. And usually the case is, they can decline that, of course, but they wouldn't be able to go on site. And so I'm seeing too, notice is being provided about that either via email, like I received today, or just a huge sign. When you step right into the entrance doors, there's a huge sign, mandatory temperature checks. Yeah. And that's your notice right then and there. So it's obviously a little bit more of an informal privacy process that most folks are used to. But I think because this is such a fluid situation where most people are doing the best they can.
It's probably going to evolve as things go along and regulations. I know you've been talking about this also, right? The rollback of certain privacy practices in lieu of human lives and health. And so there's going to be evolution of that. So let's switch gears to the last part of the conversation, which is something that I know you've been spearheading quite a bit, right? Which is women in security and privacy. So clearly, again, this is something that needs to happen, COVID, post-COVID, whatever the case may be, in terms of just making sure there's diversity as well as opportunity for women in this in security and privacy in general. So what have you seen, again, you being both somebody who has made it and also as a role model for other girls and women to follow? Is this the right time? Are you seeing a kind of self-doubt coming in saying, hey, are we being welcomed? And is this the right move for us? And or what sorts of organizations that you are seeing as stepping up to not just kind of do the marketing bullshit, but also really being able to embrace it and make it a welcoming environment?
Yeah, that's an age-old question. I feel always trying to see how we can expand and diversify, not only to women, but I think, it's also appropriate to say to people of all races and backgrounds. Yeah. How can we be more inclusive and break down barriers? And so right now, as part of Women in Security and Privacy, I'm obviously one of the DC chapter co-leads for community outreach. And we try very hard to make sure that we have a base of members who consist of women and men who are interested in pursuing a cyber and privacy career by reaching out to those who are currently graduating from school, whether that's with their bachelor's degree, graduate school, or even law school for most privacy folks. Law school is usually one of those stepping stones for a lot of people that we work with. And I'm a lawyer myself, so it's usually a crowd that we try to reach out to. And with our network and other co-leads and of course our chapter lead, we try to make sure that the network we're reaching out to is giving us these jobs, positions, opportunities to speak where they can come in. We can help network, connect, and also give opportunities to just say, hey, are you willing and able to mentor? And we have a great mentor program with WISP. We have a lot of mentees as well as a lot of mentors, and we're currently expanding every day. And so we have a great network where we're trying to just connect people. And I think that's really the best that we can do is just try to connect, reach out to folks, really see those who are in underrepresented populations to say, hey, if you're interested in this career, we can help. And, just really, again, trying to connect folks.
So what are some of the success stories you've seen in terms of this? I mean, clearly, I think the mentorship is great, but in actually talking about what does real life look like, right? Because you and I know, right? We have this vision in our own mind about what a ideal workplace looks like, but clearly the reality is very different. So is there some kind of as part of the mentorship, do you also encourage your mentors and mentees to kind of understand, hey, this is what the workplace is going to look like. It's not all going to be perfect, but then if you see things like this, you want to speak up, or you need to make sure that if you're given opportunity, you want to give back to, right? In terms of what some of the real life stories that you've seen.
Yeah, I think, I've been very, very lucky to always feel very connected to the DC privacy community, just growing up in the area, going to school here, both for undergraduate and law school, and trying to do activities where I can stay connected to the community.
Yeah.
And I think, I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head, but I know we have numerous examples where just from WISP, IPP, my own networking, that if you can you get an email from someone, a LinkedIn message. I usually get a lot of LinkedIn messages.
Yeah.
And it says, hey, I see you're so-and-so in the privacy field. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Or I'm looking to get into the field. Do you have any words of advice? And this was me back in law school, after law school. This was not too long ago. This was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, where I was trying to really get into the field, and I was sending those messages, and it was really nice to see folks actually step in and say, I don't know who you are, but let's jump on a call and let's talk about it. And I received some great advice. I think at the end of the day, my job opportunities really came from just pure networking.
Yeah.
And so I tried to do that for others now. And so when I get those messages from LinkedIn, email, or wherever else right now, we're all virtual, but when we have in-person meetings and we see individuals who are trying to get into the field, they're still in school, or they've graduated, or even folks who are trying to make a career change.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey, how can I get into this? Or what do I need to do? Are there certifications? Is there anyone that I can talk to? I try to be that person. And I think we can all try to be that person. So it's really nice to see not only others doing that, I should say not only myself, but others doing that as well. And I'm lucky to have a great group of colleagues who feel the same way. And I think that's really the best thing that we can do, is just try to help one another. And those are really the feel-good stories that I think you were kind of alluding to there.
Absolutely, and I think as you were speaking that, I think that's really emblematic of where we are right now, right? People needing help, and then, like you're saying, your own personal experience of having gone through that and having got the benefit of those mentors and people who are willing to respond to you, and then doing the same thing. So, great chatting with you, Christina. I know we're in strange times over here, but again, the world is changing every single day. So, thanks for taking the time, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, Ashwin. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.